Before operating the harvester, ensure and check following aspects. All nuts and bolts are properly tightened. V-belts need to be in proper tension. Adjust if required or replace if worn out. Before operating the harvester, all the bearings and greasing points should be greased every day. Clean the radiator fins with the help of air or cloth, as a choked radiator will lead to overheating. Check the radiator coolant level and top up with clean water if required. Check the indication of ammeter for proper charging of battery. Check the transmission oil level of reductions unit, gearbox as per mark on dipstick and oil level hole. Check the hydraulic oil EP68 level as per the level strip. Check the engine oil level as per mark on dipstick. Engine oil level must not go below the minimum mark. Top up with the recommended grade of oil if required. Clean the air cleaner with air after every 10 hours of operation. Cutter bar mounting. Dismantle the cutter bar from the rear side and place it in front of the harvester. Align the harvester in line with the position of cutter bar. Move the harvester steadily to lock the cutter bar with harvester and lock it with the lock-in pin. Adjust all reel tines vertically facing to the ground for all standing crops and position the reel tines backward for badly lodged crops. The reel tine adjustment can be done by moving the cam roller mounting angle. Move the angle to the left for positioning reel tines backward and vice versa. Complete reel set can also be positioned forward or backward, up or down according to the crop requirement. Slacken the reel drive V-belt and unlock the bolt from either side of the reel. For badly lodged crops, move the reel forward, and for normal crops, the center of the reel should be vertical over the cutter bar. Feeding of the crop to the feeder housing is important for the seamless working of the harvester. Maintain the gap between the front auger and the cutter bar tray 8 to 10 mm to avoid clogging of crops. Also adjust the pongs that help to bring the crop into the center of the feeder housing. Pongs can be adjusted by loosening the bolt and repositioning the lever. When harvesting bulky crops, move the lever downwards, and in case short-strawed crops, move the lever upward. Position the lever in the center for harvesting normal crops. Feeder chain adjustment. With continuous operation, the feeder chain gets slackened, which can hamper the feeding process unless corrective measures are taken. The feeder chain can be set to the right tension with the help of tensioner nut. Loosen the two nuts as shown in the video and tighten the tensioner nut. The chain must be evenly tensioned to avoid feeder angle touching the feeder housing floor. Cutter bar leveling. Before putting the combine initially to work, check the cutter bar is in level with ground and adjust the cutter bar to be horizontal if necessary. The adjustment can be carried out with the help of holding bracket. Loosen the nuts as shown in the video and tighten the bolt given at the bottom to move the cutter bar upward, and loosen the nut to bring the cutter bar downward. Concave adjustment. Concave can be adjusted by means of shifting bolts in the holes provided at left and right of the concave. The maximum concave clearance is 5 mm to 37 mm. Adjust the concave according to crop type. The gap between the thresher and concave is set at the factory. However, the final adjustment must be made in the field to meet the actual condition of the crop. Thresher drum speed. The drive to the threshing drum is obtained from the engine through guide drum. The speed of the drum is adjusted by variator control lever according to the crop and their threshing characteristics. Rotate the lever clockwise to increase and rotate it anti-clockwise to decrease thresher drum RPM. The thresher speed RPM ranges from 540 to 1050 RPM. Straw walker setting. Straw walker balancing is necessary for free movement of straws and grains. The straw walker should not have any upward or downward play, but the horizontal play should be maintained 1 mm to the right and left hand side. The upward and downward play can be balanced to the right tension by either inserting or removing shim between the wooden blocks present below the straw walker. If the play of the crank is on the higher side, remove the shim, and if it is too tight, insert the shim between the wooden block. It is important to note that the straw walker needs to be checked twice on every day of operation to ensure that it is not choked. Air adjustment. When air blast is excessive, it can be reduced by adjusting fan shutters to the aperture of the cleaning fan. The shutters can be opened or closed by means of nuts as required, depending upon the crop condition. Excessive wind can throw grains out and slow wind can hamper grain cleaning. Elevator chain adjustment. Elevator chain carries the grains to the grain tank, and overtension of this chain causes premature wear to chains and sprockets. To adjust the tension of elevator chain, loosen the clamping bolts on both sides of the elevator and the lock nut of the adjustment screw. Increase tension of the elevator chain by tightening the nut. Also tension the filler auger drive chain with idler sprocket. Tension the elevator chain to such an extent as to prevent the rubber paddles from rubbing the elevator's housings. Unloading of discharge tube. The grain tank unloading tube is engaged by pulling the rod on the grain tank. Swing the tube to unloading position for transport. The grains are discharged by means of discharge auger through the discharge tube. Switch on the ignition and engage threshing lever and cutter bar lever to activate their mechanism. The levers can be engaged by pressing the levers downward, and the levers can be disengaged by pulling them upwards. Bring the harvester to motion slowly and set the engine RPM to 1600 for a smooth harvesting process. Now the combine harvester is ready for harvesting. Ensure there is no unwarranted noise while harvesting and the grains are properly poured into the grain tank. Also check if there is any grain loss or improper cleaning of the grain. If found, set the thresher mechanism according to the crop as per the table shown before. Intermittently check the tank volume through observation glass. Once the grain tank is full, engage the tank unloading lever by pushing them down. Once the grain is transferred to the tractor trolley, pull up the lever to disengage. Happy harvesting!